Now, South Africa has alarmingly high crime rates. 68 murders took place on average every day between April and June of this year. Almost 1 million households are broken into every single year. Gender-based violence levels are also among the highest globally. Here's a look back at some of the biggest crime stories Newzroom Africa's reporters covered during the year.
Regina Mali was woken up by a mob in the early hours of the morning on the 19th of May in 2021. The mob wanted her son, Ivan Mali. They broke down the door of the room he was sleeping in. Regina says the crowd said her child was a criminal. She called her other son and asked him to go with the mob while she tried to contact the police. The angry crowd went to other homes on the same mission. Ivan and others were brought to this field. They were tied up, beaten, and torched to death with petrol. Regina did not go to the field. Ivan is also survived by 2 children. One of them is a 6-year-old son who saw videos of what happened to his father.
So, anger,
Ivan's brother says he often gets teased about how his brother died and says justice might make the healing journey better. The Unspread Community Policing Forum says the events of May 2021 definitely left a deafening silence in the township. Soon after, things went back to normal. Gunshots became frequent and drug abuse more prevalent, especially among the youth.
After mono, yes. Hola ha thula thuleya. A ke go tsa motho zwang ha bone ntho e tshosang o tla thula, but no, it's tough. It's tough even to us. It's tough. We go in, we patrolling day and night. It's too tough now at this moment.
The forum plays middleman between the police and the community. It's a volunteering service, a route not many are keen on.
Now I do all my heart. I got to Buzamaka. Mama Mama back to CPF, and I can mind him and talk about 12 months. So sorry, he took a truce and gets whole truce. I love CPF, and I can risk with all my life.
In Unspread, in Trapele Feleki wish and go a carry, who ya canna, Obana Banabadulan Kara Unspread, Bakuhela di Traxi, Bakuhela Tutze Badiet and Tempi, but concentrate at Tutung for education. Then maybe parliament or maybe lawyer
Listening to people here, the sentiment is that they don't feel that the area is safe. Even the community policing forum says it needs more hands from residents themselves to help fight crime in Unspread. For Newzroom Africa on channel 405, I'm Zikona Shona in Johannesburg.
The list of names of women and children who've lost their lives to gender-based violence in South Africa is endless. The manner in which they are killed is extremely gruesome and horrifying. The gender-based violence and femicide scourge has been declared as South Africa's second pandemic by President Cyril Ramaphosa, backed by a national strategic plan, a presidential summit, and funding.
Crime against women and children remain a deeply disturbing feature of our national life. In November last year, we held a second presidential Summit on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide to assess what progress we have made in implementing the National Strategic Plan, which we adopted as a comprehensive, effective and united response to this pandemic. One of the great successes of our effort to fight gender-based violence is the extent to which social partners have rallied around the National Strategic Plan. In January last year, I signed into law 3 pieces of legislation that afford greater protection to survivors of gender-based violence and ensure that perpetrators are no longer able to use legislative loopholes to evade prosecution.
On the ground, it seems as though efforts are hardly felt.
Someone was hitting on us and we ignored them, and they were after that it was just oh, that's normal though. So I think it's also a psychological thing, because walking down the street and there's a man behind me, I'm immediately scared. I'm going to pull out my phone and pretend to be talking to someone, because
always look behind your back to make sure he isn't doing anything, or he's not going to try to do something. So I feel like you always have to be on guard. We have, family members as well that we call uncles, or rather brothers, that also violate us, and they're also not, being held responsible for what they're doing. So I don't think as girls, as women, we are, safe in our country, and our country is not also doing enough justice for us.
The condemnations have come from all offices of government.
We're not going to create a broader prison here where women move around here arrested because abafanele ukhambebusuku, abafanele ukugqokike, abafanele ukuphuza, abafanele we are not a prison. We can't create a broader prison for women and we think that only men can be free. So it's important that men understand that women are human beings and fully fledged human beings. All the right to have as a man, they do have it.
Ngicabanga ukuthi akukho enough siswami, kuyazanyiwa khona kodwa ku enough ngoba kwenzeka imihla namalanga ukuthi kufe ku enough kube maybe kuyasondelwa kakhulu emalokishini kula kwenzakala khona kakhulu. Ongaka ukuthi maybe ngicabanga ukuthi kube kuyasondelwa kuhambe kufuniswa ngoba bayakubona abantu kwenzeka kodwa basabe ukukhuluma.
South Africa is also a very popular tourist attraction, and visitors are reading and hearing about the violence we are exposed to.
That's part of why we also have a driver, because one of the things we were scared of is going out. What would that be like for us? So we were told from folks who were locals here not to have your cell phone out, not to do this, not to do that. So it does have a bit of a scare factor. I will say being from Jamaica, it may not be as scary for me as it would be for someone else, but there's still a little bit of a fear factor there when you go out. I've heard of stabbings, I've heard of still having genitalia issues. So, it's a bit concerning. But I still have to say I love being here.
When gentlemen don't acknowledge a woman's presence when they walk through, it's very, it's very hurtful to have that. So where we're from, respecting everyone is key, but also respecting a woman is key, because we all come from a woman, our mother. And so having an equal rights is something that, that is very, very, very strong to have.
I have heard that the women are really, a lot of times are abused in domestic or intimate relationships. And, it's something that is a crime that's pretty much everywhere. It's pretty prevalent in Jamaica, where I'm from too. But since I've been here, I've seen some disparity in how women are treated. Yes. And I just really hope that we can get it together.
Awareness campaigns are there, government efforts are there, but it's evident that more work still needs to be done. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Zikona Chona in Johannesburg.
Tales of South Africans getting WhatsApp messages from their so-called friends or family asking to borrow 1,000 rand are all too common, especially when it now turns out that the person messaging you from your loved one's number is not even the person you think they are. According to veteran tech journalist Toby Shapshak, fraudsters getting access to people's messages through SIM swaps and emails with links asking to pay a clearance fee to receive winnings are conning a massively high number of South Africans.
South Africans, unfortunately, are being very affected by cybercrime, and we are unfortunately being too gullible and believing what people say to us. And that's the problem. The other problem is we've had a rapid influx of very fast forms of broadband, fiber, 5G. And with that, lots more people are online. And as a result, unfortunately, what has happened is people haven't upskilled themselves for the cyber skills they need.
So what exactly is a SIM swap or phishing? Two of the most common cyber crimes affecting South Africans. A SIM swap is defined as a technique used by criminals to gain control of your cell number and receive your SMSs or calls. They do it by calling your network provider, pretending to be you, and as if they need to activate a new SIM card. Once they have that, the criminals normally look to get hold of your one-time PIN or OTP to get into and make payments from your online banking. A SIM swap also allows the fraudsters to send WhatsApp messages as you, where we see them asking family and friends for money. Phishing is a similar practice and is defined as the sending of emails or messages pretending to be official to con people to share their personal information or make payments into certain accounts.
When someone's trying to hack your bank account, what they do is clone your SIM card. So lots of people still use an SMS as two-factor authentication. I urge you to use an authenticator app. Any of them is better. Don't use SMS, because more often than not, when someone's bank account is hacked, it's because they got this OTP, the over-the-air PIN, and they got it by hacking your SIM cards.
According to research from global VPN Surfshark, South Africa ranks as the 5th most affected country in the world by cybercrime. The ranking was done based on the number of cybercrime victims per 1 million internet users in the country. So what can you do to stop yourself from becoming a victim? Shapshak has some simple advice.
The most important thing to think about in terms of cybercrime, and that's everything from phishing to being hacked, is if it seems too good to be true, it isn't true. If someone emails you and says, I can give you millions of dollars if you only give me a little bit up front, it's not true.
For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Nick Anderson in Johannesburg.